Emerging technologies are transforming the healthcare industry as we know it. Investors, say hello to H-Tech, a portfolio dedicated to capturing the significant growth potential of healthcare innovation. Learn more at roboglobal.com/HTEC.
Technology Truths, brought to you by Geico.
Technology Truths.
Truth. Teenagers can communicate entirely in emojis.
How was the birthday party? Pizza slice, kitten, soccer ball, pineapple?
Truth. It's so easy to switch and save on car insurance at geico.com.
What are you talking about? Paperclip, shoulder shrug, high five, wizard hat? What?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Fuck you, Riley. I made your mom so wet Trudeau deployed a 24-hour infantry unit to stack sandbags around my bed. Fuck you, Shorzy.
Who disrupts my coronation? Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak. I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
The moon, yeah. That's Hugo, tickling the ivories. He just saved by bundling home and auto with Progressive. Gonna finally buy a ring for that gal of yours, Hugo? Send her my condolences. Hi-oh! This next one's for you two. There's a burglar in my heart. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Kitty Bob! Yeah! Say that all the time. I always say. I always say. Go! I always say. Jump, 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 stop! Autobots, roll out!
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to TWIG, the flagship of stupidity. I'm your host, Mike the BirdmanDodd, but I am joined with my usual crew of... nobody. Simply because Tristan is unfortunately sick, so much so we have to take him to the doctors this morning. And Alex is unfortunately not here due to some complications with his, well, I'll let him explain it next show because it's kind of a funny story depending on how he wants to tell it, and it's disturbing to say the very least. But anyhow, I'm here as your humble host to entertain you, the TWIG fans, my friends, my buddies. I don't know why I'm Christopher Walken all of a sudden, but I am. So, as I often do off the top of the show, kind of go through what's been going on with my week and kind of give you an idea of what's going to be coming up in the show for this particular episode. So, some really kind of good news, actually. So, earlier this year, BioWare was having a huge sale on its store, and they were blowing stuff out. I picked up a N7 hoodie in the largest possible size because, well, let's all admit it, I'm a fat bastard. And when it got here, it was tight, and I was thinking, "Fuck, I gotta lose weight." It's a challenge, and it is what it is. So I decided the other day, the winter's coming. I gotta go outside. I need a hoodie. I gotta go get my eyes checked. And I decide, hey Blair, hand me my hoodie. I'm curious. It was tight last time. It didn't even fit. I put it on. And let me tell you, it was one of the best feelings I've ever had in the world. It fits with room to spare. So I don't know how the hell I've done it. I guess I'm eating right. Haven't had a whole lot of sugar drinks, so I'm not doing that. I'm eating less carbs in a lot of ways. I'm eating a lot of shawarma, so a lot of white meat chicken, stuff like that. So I'm just eating better has really kind of paid off in like dividends. So I was so happy when I got that news. And then I went to the optometrist this past week. I'm getting some new glasses, which is kind of nice. I'm actually getting a new pair of glasses, which, for those of you that know me, I like the flamboyant colors. My current glasses are glow-in-the-dark green and black. My pair of glasses, I got a pair that are old man wireframes because why not? And the other pair are pink. They're this clear pink. They're ridiculous. They're loud. They're extreme. I think they look really cool. And I got them because of one of my favorite streamers. Her name is Fuya. You can follow her on Twitch. It's like twitch.tv/Fuya. So Fooya. And I'm like, I want Fuya glasses. And so I did. So we're just waiting to get the approval through the usual channels up here in Canada. So, looking forward to getting some new glasses so I can see what the hell I'm doing in Red Dead Redemption 2 and video games like that. And, so that's pretty much been my week. I've been reviewing some stuff. So, coming up in the show this week, we have Alex reviewing Valkyria Chronicles Remastered. That'll be for the Switch. I reviewed Call of Cthulhu on the PC, one of the first PC games I've reviewed this year outside of Battletech. And I also have a review of Charmed, the complete first season on Blu-ray. So that'll be kind of exciting. I'm really looking forward to actually talking about those in this particular episode. Outside of that, I got a bunch of cool news we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about, not good news, but a strategy guide company is going away. I'm actually still surprised they even have those things. An official announcement from Disney, which should get a lot of people excited about, though it is old news, but now it's official. And some weird news, one of them sent in by longtime Twig listener Jen McMyler, who does a lot of my artwork. And someone involved in Dragon Ball Z is now a U.S. state senator. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming up on the show this week. I'm looking forward to talking to you about it. So stay tuned, but first things first, let's hear from Alex, and this is his review of Valkyria Chronicles.
Valkyria Chronicles is a game that I played years ago on the PlayStation 3 and absolutely loved its art style. And I believe it's become pretty much a big cult classic, so I don't need to go into too many details about it other than it's probably been released a couple times since then because that's what we do when we remaster titles and put them on newer consoles. So we know it already came out on the PS4. Now the Switch version has been released sort of without a lot of fanfare as far as advertising for it. I just noticed that it was popping up and I had the opportunity to review it. It retails for about $30 or $40 now, so it's about half the price of a full retail game, even though this is definitely worth the full $80 value you get from a retail title. Now, is this going to be any different on the Switch than it is on the PS4? Well, you're not going to get it to play like any with PS4 Pro enhanced graphics or anything, but it does play at a steady 60 frames at 1080p on the Switch. It has all the enhanced features that came with the PS4 enhanced version, and quite frankly, it's perfect for on the go because the way this game plays is it's a hybrid between a turn-based RPG and almost like an RTS because you control your troops individually, line them up where you want them to be behind cover or in the open, and you then aim like you would with any third-person over-the-shoulder shooter at the enemy. You click attack, and you attack the enemy, and then when it's their turn and they move across the map, your character can automatically shoot them if they're within their line of sight. It's a very cool, interesting game that I hadn't seen the RTS/strategy RPG play out like this before in any other game. I'm not going to go into the story because, again, with most RPGs, that's the main bread and butter, so you don't need to talk about whether it's good or not, except know this. If it's been released a couple times and been remastered and it's gotten rave reviews before on its original console, then it's a good game, so you don't have to worry about that. What you have to worry about is porting it from a more powerful system like a PS3 and PS4 down to a Switch. Is it going to perform well? I can say this, yes. It doesn't have any slowdowns that I can see. It seems to be playing at a buttery smooth 60 frames. If it isn't, then it's tricking me because it works perfectly well on my system. And the best part is, with these strategy battles, they can take 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to beat, depending on how difficult they are and the stage of the game you're in. But they make perfect travel missions because you can save in between each of them. And when you're on the go, it's not like an action RPG where you're constantly Twitch gaming. You got to be pressing buttons a million times and watching what you're doing. You can be sort of distracted when you're, sitting in public transit or, just on the go. You can actually sit there, just plan out what you're going to do, move, then watch the action unfold. So I would say definitely pick this up. It's Valkyria Chronicles remastered on the Switch from Sega.
Need a new weapon in your battle against evil? Check out LibrisArcana.com for Canada's premier RPG dice subscription service. For only $7.97 Canadian with free shipping. You can get a new complete set of role-playing dice from D4s to D20s delivered straight to your door. Dice themes are new each month and can be anything your mind can imagine and beyond. Visit LibrisArcana.com and subscribe for only $7.97 Canadian with free shipping, and be prepared to open up new worlds of adventure.
News on the march!
We're here on TWIG to bring you the news that is, that was, and forever shall be forged into the realm of history. I know I make it sound a lot more epic than what it really is. I'm your host, Mike the BirdmanDodd. For the rest of this episode, it's going to be me, pretty much. So thanks, Alex, for that review of Valkyria Chronicles. Be sure to check it out. All right, guys, well, let's kind of break things down to what happened in the world this week. And we're going to start things off on kind of a sad note. As you guys know, since the 90s, video game strategy guides, hell, even before that, were kind of a thing. You could just go down to your local bookstore, pick up a guide for, I don't know, Final Fantasy, Ultima. Even later, you get stuff for, like, Pokemon. And even later, stranger still, you get stuff for, like, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft. Strategy guides were a thing. And one of the biggest companies that was Prima Games. And unfortunately, they're going to be shutting their doors during the spring. So they're not going to publish any new guides starting now, according to parent company DK. And it just kind of sucks that this is going to happen. I know employees across 3 different cities are going to be losing their jobs. I want to say Indianapolis and New York, and I think one other location. Got the story from Kotaku.com. And it kind of sucks because Prima then bought out their biggest competitor, which was Brady Games at one point. So Prima was pretty much the only game in town. And I have a couple of strategy guides. I know I got the ones for Mass Effect. I got the ones for Mass Effect Andromeda. I think I have a couple for Call of Duty or something like that. And I have the Vault Dwellers guide for Fallout 4, I think, because it was a nice collector's edition. So it's kind of weird to see that this is not going to be a thing anymore. But I guess when you look at sites like GameFAQs and IGN always does a really extensive walkthrough for stuff, or hell, you can just go to YouTube and get video guides, which will show you exactly what you have to do as opposed to a static screenshot and a blurb. They can show you literally frame for frame what you have to do should the task be more difficult than that. And it's funny because I always see people still collecting these things. I know on my personal Facebook, I see a lot of my friends saying, hey, I went down to the thrift store today and I bought Final Fantasy 9, 10, 13, and a couple of Pokemon guides from Prima. And they just collect them. They're just a little piece of video game history. And I guess kind of like how people collect old Nintendo Powers or EGMs. They just want to have something from those games. It's just... I guess that's just it, though, right? It's a piece of history that's just going to kind of go away. And I'm kind of sad because I've always wondered what went into making these guides. Because you'd have to have access to the game, so... I've always just wanted to talk to one of the authors of one of this. Like, how did you do it? Did you get, like, a lot of playtime? Did you just talk to the developers? Did they just tell you what to do? Did a developer write it? Was it someone on the team, or was it literally an outside contractor? And I've always been curious about that, because I remember one game guide, and this would be about the late 80s, early 90s. And I wish I could remember his last name, but I remember his first name was Jeff. And some of you will probably know what I'm talking about. If you remember, there was a Mortal Kombat novel that was published in the early 90s. And it had the big Mortal Kombat dragon on it, and it wasn't the official novelization of the movie. It was a Mortal Kombat novel set in the MK universe. And I remember he had wrote a strategy guide previous to that, because I was really excited when I went into my used bookstore and I saw the same name on the Mortal Kombat book that was on this. So I was like, oh my god, I've read some of his stuff before, and I was just super hyped for that. So that's kind of a thing. I just find that interesting. And another place where strategy guides were kind of useful, and that this might be kind of... I don't know how to frame this example precisely, but fighting games were particularly useful for strategy guides because they showed you all the moves. They could show you combos. Mind you, because they were printed, they couldn't keep up with the meta. So you'd have the top tier list as of the printing, but with patch notes and stuff getting taken in and taken away, the guides would quickly become out of print. And I could see them being really useful for something like, say, Pokemon, where you're trying to figure out, okay, well, what's strong against, I don't know, Steel and Psychic type. See, that's the thing. There's now Steel-type Pokemon. I don't even know. So now I'm out in the wild, but I guess if I really want to learn, I can just go look it up on GameFAQs. So I'm tremendously sad to hear about this story. I really hope the employees do find other work in the video game field. And I raise my controller to you, my fine video game family. Thank you for your years of service, because without you, I wouldn't have beaten some video games. Moving on to my next news story. This one comes as no surprise to me. And this one comes out of Disney. And it's surprisingly not the only Disney story that I have today. So it's official. Disney is bringing the Loki TV series to its streaming service, which is now called Disney Plus. This has been rumored for quite some time. It does star Tom Hiddleston as Loki, though they haven't revealed any more details other than the fact, yes, this is the thing. Yes, we have the star. Yes, it's in the MCU. Yes, it's in canon. And that's pretty much about it. So, presumably, this would take place before Avengers Infinity War. If I had to guess, this will take place between Thor the Dark World and Thor Ragnarok. Before he gets found out as he's not Odin. Spoilers if you haven't seen Ragnarok, but you've had like 2 years now. Or maybe it'll take place before the MCU really got started, when Thor and Loki were just brothers hanging out in Asgard. Which, I don't know, I think a Loki TV series doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me. I mean, obviously, Tom Hiddleston's portrayal of Loki is a wonderful thing. He made what I considered to be a C-list villain really friggin' cool. And he just oozes charisma. So I can see why, but I don't know what narrative they're going for. I'm much more interested in the Scarlet Witch series, because I want to know whether they'll get Paul Bettany back as Vision, or whether they'll get the guy that played Quicksilver back to do his stuff. But then again, if they got their powers before Age of Ultron, which they're shown to be experiments of Von Strucker, I don't know. I'm very curious to know how this whole Disney streaming TV service series will work out. I mean, at least with the kind of Netflix stuff, they're in there. They've referenced the Marvel Universe, but they're not really a part of it. This stuff is supposed to be in canon. So I'm very curious to know how the writing teams are going to approach this. There's even a rumored Winter Soldier and Falcon TV series. And that sounds interesting to me. That sounds like it could be pretty friggin' badass. But again, where are you setting it? What are the stories? Are these like Avenger side stories that took place before Infinity War? Stuff like that. Stuff before Civil War, or even during Civil War. And that's the thing, too. You really have to think about when do you want to set this in terms of the continuity as to not confuse new fans, as to draw in new people, but also to appease old fans like me who are like, oh, hey, that took place before Age of Ultron, or this takes place before Civil War, or after, or during the Sokovia Accords, or whatever. Shit like that. There's little things that are going to be important. And I want to know, how is this going to affect other shows like Netflix, stuff like that? Because I know we lost Iron Fist, we lost Luke Cage, Are we going to see them pop up in the Disney service stuff? Probably not. Probably not. But I know Punisher, Jessica Jones have got renewed seasons, and they should be, if not released, have their release dates revealed rather soon, probably tying in the Captain Marvel to build the Marvel hype. It would not surprise me if Daredevil gets a season 4, although I know its numbers were suffering. And that's another thing to kind of talk about, too, if we want to talk about streaming services. We're going to have so many different options now, especially here in Canada. It was recently announced that Hulu is coming to Canada finally, though Canada has Crave, which is a Bell-owned property. We have, there used to be a Rogers one called Show Me, which we don't have anymore. But every television station up here that's owned by Rogers or Bell, you can stream episodes of their television shows from their websites, or they have unique broadcast rights on TV, which is why we get to see Star Trek Discovery here on TV on Sundays, whereas you guys have to get CBS All Access or watch it on Netflix if you're international. So I'm very curious to know what the Hulu catalog is going to look like coming up to Canada, considering certain companies have rights tied up in this. Yet Disney has said it will have all the Marvel movies and all Star Wars movies, or at least I think all Marvel movies, past Captain Marvel, past 2019. And I think Disney Plus launches late 2019. So I'm curious to know what the catalog will look like for Disney Plus. I'm definitely interested. If you told me it has every Disney animation, every Disney afternoon show or whatever, and I'm talking complete series, I don't necessarily need a super remaster, but I want at least broadcast quality, then ask me to pay $10 a month. I'm okay with that. I want to watch my Rescue Rangers. I want to watch all 6 seasons of Gummy Bears. Yes, it ran that long, but I want weird stuff like the Wuzzles. I want weird stuff like Bonkers. I want stuff like that. I want stuff that has not got a good DVD release, or stuff that's been in the Disney vault forever. I don't necessarily need Song of the South, but you better give me DuckTales and all of its seasons, including the new stuff. And you better give me like Tron Uprising too. This is the kind of things that, hell, even old Mickey Mouse Club episodes would be worth it. But getting back on point, back to the Marvel stuff, I don't know. I want to love the Loki TV series because I think it's a cool idea. I can only imagine how much this is going to cost. Because doing Asgard, that's a lot of sets, that's a lot of CG. Hiddleston himself can't exactly be a cheap thing, but it's pretty clear that they're listening to the fans, that they want more Loki, and they kind of killed him in Infinity War. So what's the best way to do it? With a limited event TV series. Though Scarlet Witch was kind of an odd choice, I gotta say, for her own show. I would have much preferred, hell, give me a Jeremy Renner Hawkeye series, and I think that's supposed to happen. I want to say I read that somewhere, but I'm not 100% sure. So anyway, that's all the news I got for us this week here on the show. We're going to take a small break and hear from, well, myself, and we're going to check out a review that I did of a Blu-ray that I think you should probably pick up. In today's quickie review, we're looking at Charmed, the complete first season on Blu-ray, coming to us from Paramount Home Entertainment. For those of you that aren't familiar, Charmed is the story of 3 sisters, Piper, Prue, and Phoebe, who are the Power 3. The Power of 3, if you will, and they are empowered by the Book of Shadows, which is like a witchcraft Necronomicon sort of thing. And basically they get superpowers. They get telekinesis, precognition, and the ability to freeze time. So pretty big superpowers, all things considered. And they fight monsters of the week or problems of the week. Very similar to Buffy the Vampire Slayer and how it was set out. This came out in like 1998. And it definitely shows. That's not necessarily a bad thing. This is one of those TV shows from the 90s that I think has aged remarkably well in terms of story and acting. I think Shannon Doherty is a real treat in this show. I've always been a huge fan of her since 90210 and Mallrats. Although it's unfortunate what happens to her in season, and you're going to have to wait to buy those Blu-rays to find out! But anyway, you might be asking, Mike, This is on Blu-ray. How is it? This looks like it was shot this year. This is one of the best looking transfers, at least I think I've seen. I think it looks great. I have not seen the original DVDs to compare against, but I'm watching this on my TV, and it looks fantastic. It's nice and bright, it's colorful, it's sharp. I don't see any of that black, or it looks kind of murky or anything. No, this looks fairly good. The special effects look pretty good for the time anyway. I mean, it is the 90s. What do you expect? CG was still very much in its infancy, I would argue. But at times it looks better than Buffy the Vampire Slayer's first season. There is one cheesy special effect, though. It's in like the first couple episodes where a guy's stealing the youth out of people, and he does laser eyes. That's probably the most ridiculous special effect the entire season. But other than that, though, this is entertaining for a Monster of the Week show. And as a slice of 90s cheese, this has aged remarkably well. So, you get 22 episodes across 5 discs. Unfortunately, you don't get any special features. And that really kind of surprised me. I really would have expected, for the price point of almost $60, to at least have gotten some commentaries, or a music video, or something. That kind of surprises me. And I don't know whether there were any extras on the original Charmed release. I'm surprised they didn't get ported over. It's just kind of legacy stuff. So that's about the only negative here. And maybe the price, because it is an older television show. But considering how much care I think went into this, I'm going to say this is a pretty solid recommend. If you are a fan of Charmed in the 90s, and want to get the best possible version, this is probably your best bet to do so. If you like the idea of Charmed and hate the new one because the new Charmed sucks, then you should probably check this out as well. I really think this is a nice slice of the 90s that is just going to live on in my heart for a very long time. So that's Charmed here on Quickie Reviews, coming to us from Paramount Home Entertainment.
What makes you qualified to be a reporter? I'm willing to violate anyone's privacy for my personal gain and then claim with a straight face that the public has a right to know.
By the hand of Zeus, what manner of deviltry is this?
I love fake alien poop day.
We are back here on Twig to talk about the weird, the wacky, the just plain fucked up from around the world this week. This is the weird news. Now, editor's note, one of our stories was sent in by Jen, who is one of the biggest fans of Twig and a personal friend of mine. She sent in a story about Disney funerals. I did a little bit of digging, and I'm pretty sure it's full of shit. I just kind of glanced at the story at first look, accepted it, seemed pretty good until I started reading into the quotes about it, and then I started doing a little bit more research. And evidently, no, you cannot get a Disney funeral. Though I'm actually kind of surprised, actually, that they don't have some kind of a service for that. Although custodians report they do deal with quite a few instances of people spreading ashes around the parks over pretty much the history of it. So, although weirdly enough, the Haunted Mansion is a place where people don't get their ashes spread. Figure that one out. But I did find some other weird stories for me to bring you, and we're going to dig into that right now. So as you guys know, the U.S. midterm elections have just finished, and it was a success, depending on how you want to look at it, for the Democrats. Not exactly the crushing defeat that the Republicans were expecting, but things are definitely changing up in Washington. And I don't talk about politics on this show for that particular reason, because I don't want to talk politics, I don't want to get dragged into the mud, and it usually just ends up ugly for everybody involved. However, though, some pretty cool news to someone who got elected to the United States Senate this past week, and he is Nathan Johnson. You may be wondering, well, who the hell's that? He's the guy who's done some of the movie scores and some English dubbed episodes of Dragon Ball Z. He is a music composer. Now, he graduated with a law degree from the University of Texas, but continued to alternate between his day job as a lawyer and composing music. So he has worked with these guys for quite some time. He's done music for Broly's Second Coming. He's worked on a bunch of other shit. Although he's not working on Super Broly. I think he worked on the history of Broly as well. or the first Broly movie. But I do think that is kind of neat. So this guy secured 54% of the vote, claiming victory for the Democrats as he beat out Republican Don Humphreys in the midterm elections in that particular Senate race. So we have a guy who can literally go Super Saiyan anytime he wants to on the Senate. Now, if only he could get Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat to help swear him in as Goku and Vegeta, I think that'd be pretty cool. Or to get Kyle Bear to come out as the Dragon Ball Z announcer and say, "Your United States Senator," blah, 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 blah. I think that'd be pretty kick-ass, actually. I'm actually kind of proud of that. So anyway, yeah, that is some of the weird news that I thought was kind of worth mentioning. Another piece of weird news, this one just jumped at me because it was so bloody strange. And it talks about the end of God, so to speak. And it's claimed that humans will worship an AI messiah as an artificially intelligent God. But basically, since things are changing and we're relying more and more on automation, AI is slowly becoming a possibility, and there is machine learning. I mean, look at the stuff Google's doing right now. You kind of wonder. So, speaking about the advent of technology such as AI, the Da Vinci Code author Dan Brown has said humanity no longer needs God, but may, with the help of artificial intelligence, develop a new form of collective consciousness that fulfills the role of our religion. Are we naive today to believe that the gods of the present will survive and be here in 100 years? According to Daily Galaxy, MIT physicist and cosmologist Max Tegmark also said that once this new superintelligence is vastly greater to that of a human, the fate of mankind will depend on it. That's kind of strange. He then later goes on to say the real risk with artificial general intelligence isn't malice but competent. A superintelligent AI will be extremely good at accomplishing its goals, and if those goals aren't aligned with ours, we're in some real trouble. And I know Stephen Hawking had warned about artificial intelligence as well, depending on how it's cultivated. And when we let artificial intelligences out, so to speak, to learn how to tweet, it didn't take long for them to become racist 4chan trolls. So, if given access to the internet and the collective knowledge and emotional intelligence of mankind, I don't think it's going to be long before it decides we're the problem. And I'm not talking about Skynet, but the idea of a virtual god, I don't know, that's kind of interesting to think about, because you look at how cultures evolve. We're in a new era now, and 100 years is maybe a little bit still in the quote-unquote present to even really kind of consider that. But I think that poses an interesting question, because you look at, let's say, 300 years down the road. Now, providing we don't nuke ourselves to annihilation, I don't know, an artificial god that literally develops from a super intelligent AI? I don't know. That's a rather fascinating philosophical conversation, and I really wish Tristan and Alex were here so I could kind of bounce things off of them about this. But I'm actually going to say that's not too far-fetched, far outside the realm of possibility, because we look at the different gods and secular religions we have now. If we're willing to believe in the invisible sky man, what's to say we couldn't believe in an all-present, all-knowing computer program? Because your miracle of, say, a weeping statue might be, oh, this computer gave me the winning lottery numbers, or something like that, or the plane avoided crashing because the artificial intelligence realized, oh shit, there's trouble. Stuff like that. So, technological miracle versus real miracle. That's kind of a fascinating way to possibly kind of look at things. So, I don't know. That's pretty weird. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. So, that's what I got for news stories this week. Sorry we don't have a whole lot of discussion this week, but I do have Satan's Pantry and, of course, Weird with my review of Call of Cthulhu.
Now, you're already cleared for entrance in the unforeseen event of total atomic annihilation.
I'm here to pick up an order. 2 large pepperoni and a calzone. Name is Fuck You.
I mean, technically, the corpse was defiled already.
Welcome out to Satan's Pantry, where we decide to walk down the devil's grocery aisle of your local convenience store or big box store, but we're not doing that. As you've noticed over the last few weeks, we have been trying recipes from Inside Edition's Fallout, the official Vault Dwellers official cookbook by Victoria Rosenthal, and we've had on the show Nuka-Cola Quantum, we've had Instamash, and we've had Iguana on a Stick. And this week we're trying a dessert. My lovely wife Blair, a fellow Vault Dweller of the Guelph Wasteland, has decided to make us Mississippi Quantum Pie. Now, according to this particular foodstuff, we will get a special stat bonus of +1 charisma for 1 hour, which will help us in negotiating with those pesky raiders that tend to wander the wasteland. Now, according to this, I'm just reading some of the ingredients on this to give you an idea.
There are some raiders in Guelph.
+1 to charisma. I should pull out my Tinder app and see what happens.
Keep swiping, baby.
I just had some pie. You want some now?
We have cocoa powder, which is obvious, dark chocolate chips. We have vanilla extract, chocolate cream cookie sandwiches. I guess that's translation for Oreo. Heavy cream.
Every single thing sounds sexual.
I know, right? Except for the...
I want some pie.
Although 20 drops of neon blue food dye. Now, if
that sounds sexual.
If you're following our Twitter, which is @ThisWeekInGeek or @BirdmanDodd, I've been posting pictures of this. So if you want to see some of those pictures, go back through our timeline and you'll be able to see this. So Blair fed me some of the filling last night as sort of a precursor. Now, this has been in our fridge for the last 15 hours. It has been so hard to not just devour this entire thing in one shot.
It smells so good, even though it shouldn't. I wouldn't think this would be something that has a scent, but it smells good.
So
it does.
Without any further ado, I'm going to take a big smell.
Yes, please, no further ado. I can't wait anymore.
It smells like deliciousness.
It smells like Oreo ice cream.
Yeah. All right, folks, dig in.
All right, I'm
No
taking
more
just
doing.
a bit of the crust first.
Oh,
holy crap.
God.
oh,
That chocolate flavor. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Oh my
it's so
God.
rich and it melts. Like there's different layers to the chocolate.
it's not that buttery rich.
Do you
It's
know what
just
this
like
tastes like? Oh, wait, there's
sweet.
chocolate on the inside too?
Yeah.
Do you know what this is? And I talked
Fucking
about
good.
it on the ride over here. Something that randomly I was craving, and it's actually quenching it. It tastes like those McCain Deep and Delicious, those cheap sort of chocolate moussey.
It's even fluffier than that, though.
But that's what it's like, a homemade better version.
Yeah,
with like blue flavor. What does
the
it taste
cookie
like?
crust is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap!
Not really tasting the walnuts, but definitely tasting the Oreo cookie crunch, which is good.
Walnuts
it's
aren't
nice
as
and soft.
Yeah, walnuts are not as
pronounced.
Well, they're not as far as nuts go. When you eat them on their own, like toasted walnuts, they have that taste, but they're not like an almond or a peanut or Brazil nut, cashews. They don't have a very strong flavor, so they're sort of binding to whatever else is there.
Now try just the icing by itself.
Yeah.
It's got a slight lemon flavor to it.
Yeah, there's
and
a citrus.
My God, that's amazing.
It adds so much. A bit of a lemon meringue aftertaste.
It looks like, you know what it sort of looks like? Like he made a normal pie crust, put a little bit of like a pudding pop on the inside, and then added a bit of like food colored Cool Whip. But it really it's like a McCain Deep and Delicious, but better. So what is this? A Dodd Deep and Delicious?
Fallout Deep in something Fallout reference.
Seriously, Victoria Rosenthal, the author from this official Vault Doors official cookbook, has done a fantastic job. We've only had 1 week showing, and that was the iguana on a stick.
And it wasn't bad. It was just neutral.
Yeah, it was just nothing spectacular.
So I didn't miss much on that one then.
No, you didn't miss much on that one, though the Instamash was quite nice. And the Nuka-Cola Quantum surprised me how good that was.
That was good. I do think for that one we have to reduce the sugar a bit and maybe use a sugar alternative because we're not children. So, and if any of us are trying to watch our weight or sugar,
Good luck.
You're drinking like 900 calories in a big drink because it was delicious. It wasn't overly sweet, but you could taste the sweetness in it.
Mm-hmm. And there's definitely a lot of sugar in this as well.
I do think you could make a sugar-free version or as close to a sugar-free version as possible, and it would be almost as delicious, if not as good. So this, I'm wondering if you could make an alternative to a lot of these things. You can make alternatives to. I don't think. You would change the color, the taste profile on it.
That's
as
fantastic.
Much.
Thank you. That's the overseer who is deciding to ring the vault and say it's time to wrap up this segment. So
at this point now, thanks to the Fallout cookbook, we have officially had one full meal.
Yes,
a drink, an entree, and now a dessert.
Are there breakfasts in there?
So we need a true appetizer.
There are appetizers type things, and we're going to have a couple more before the game comes out.
We don't really rate out of 10, but I would say
it's a solid 9.
It's a solid 8 or 9 out of 10.
This is a solid. Give me fucking more of this stuff.
I'm trying to think. Could you add anything to make it better? The only thing I personally would like,
if this was frozen.
Here's the thing: if the chocolate filling was not like pudding, if it was actually like a slice of or a slab of ice cream,
I'd go with double up on the lemon.
Yeah,
personally.
double up on the lemon, but maybe make it a little thicker consistency.
Yeah.
So a little more like pudding and less like a Cool Whip,
or the actual meringue.
But seriously, this is fantastic. So if you want to find out more about this, you can find this book on Amazon or other fine book retailers. So that's Fallout, the official Vault Doors official cookbook by Victoria Rosenthal. Once again from Inside Editions, thank you for providing this to us. And now we decide to venture back out into the Guelph wasteland. We'll be back right here on TWIG, the flagship of stupidity.
I can't stop eating.
Crawl out through the fallout, baby, when they drop that bomb. Crawl out through the fallout with the greatest of aplomb.
We are looking at Focus Home Interactive's and Cyanide Studios' Call of Cthulhu, based upon the Chaosium role-playing game from the 1980s. And I've been excited for Call of Cthulhu for quite some time. I saw the trailer, got really hyped for it, because there hasn't really been a good Call of Cthulhu game since Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth on the original Xbox and PC. So I've been looking for that Call of Cthulhu fix, because I've only really played the role-playing game, and even then only a handful of times. So what we get is the adventure and story of Edward Pierce. He's an ex-World War I veteran, now turned private detective, and he's been hired by a father to find out what happened to his daughter. Why did she die? Why is her name besmirched? And what is the story behind the really weird art that she's left behind? So Pierce travels to the island of Darkwater, because that name's not spooky as fuck, and you basically find a discount in Sawmouth. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, go read The Shadow over in Sawmouth. It's a really cool H.P. Lovecraft short story, but I digress. So, moving right along, you start to uncover more and more things upon this fishing village than what's going on besides the local bootlegging operation. You start to see a cult, forgotten dark sea gods, and eventually, well, I'm not going to spoil the rest of the story for you, because Call of Cthulhu, it's a Lovecraftian tale done right. It gets the atmosphere right, it gets the writing right, and it feels like a Call of Cthulhu adventure from the RPG scenario book. This literally feels, I'm not going to say like a complete campaign, but it does seem like one of those adventures you'd buy for about 10 or 15 bucks back in Chaosium's heyday. And that's what I like about this. It really nails the feel of the RPG. And in terms of the gameplay itself, it actually takes elements from the RPG, such as giving you a skill percentile system, which you then spend character points on, except for medicine and occult. You have to find books and other items in the world which will increase those skills naturally. And they're surprisingly useful. And Call of Cthulhu is always based upon the roll under system. So if you have a really high percentile, here, roll under 65% with 2 D10s, you would be more successful the higher your numbers were. If it was really low, you'd have to roll under that. So you're kind of managing character points along the way. I highly recommend putting a lot into investigation and spot hidden, because if your spot hidden isn't high enough, you may miss certain things in the world and you can't find them otherwise. So that I thought was kind of cool. There is some combat in this game, but Call of Cthulhu has always been the kind of world where if you've gotten into a fight, you're probably doing it wrong, and you're probably going to die. So that's one thing I think that's been carried over rather well. There are some stealth sections in this game which are annoying. The puzzles in this game are simple, if somewhat annoying and stupid. But you may be saying, okay, Mike, but is the story worth it? Gameplay-wise, yeah, it's serviceable. Storyline-wise, if you're a fan of Lovecraft, August Derleth, and all those people that have written Lovecraftian tales over the years, then this definitely fits within the Cthulhu mythos, though they do take some liberties here and there, and that's okay for the most part. Call of Cthulhu is a wonderful representation of the Cthulhu mythos, and definitely is a doorway into that world of cosmic horror. Literally, we exist upon this island of ignorance, and it's not meant that we should venture very far from it. And if you're willing to buy into cosmic horror, even for just a couple of hours, then you're really in for a treat from this game. And I really do recommend this game on PC simply because of the price. Not so sure upon console. If you can find it cheaper, go for it. Or if you can use trade credits, definitely worth it. But Call of Cthulhu is definitely worth adding to your gaming collection. All right, guys. Well, that's the kind of show it has been this week out on the site. A lot of good stuff coming up this week. I know me and Alex are actually talking about doing a TWIG After Dark. I know he's working on a Turtle Treasure right now. This week is actually surprisingly light outside of Fallout 76. I actually have a few days where I'm not doing a whole hell of a lot. I'm reviewing the Meg from Warner Brothers. I think Alex is working on MacGyver and some other stuff. I'm also finally going to get that botched roll that I've been talking about for forever. Because of people getting sick this past weekend, we couldn't record Cambridge Chronicles Shadowrun. So we're running a few weeks behind on that, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So kind of hoping that I can get that out. To talk about game mastering, because I'm getting the itch back. And I kind of like that when I game master Cambridge Chronicles. Actually, I got to spend just a few moments here talking about Terrible Warriors. And as you guys know, Cambridge Chronicles is the secondary podcast, but the main podcast, we have a Discord server. You can find out over at terriblewarriors.com. But some of our listeners did an Extra Life charity event this past. People like Ken, Christy, Seatown, McGrumbus or something, Spaghetti. I don't know. I'm sorry, dude. I'm fucking up your name real bad. Stuff like that. And they raised some money for charity for some local children's hospitals that are very near and dear to them. They went a full 24 hours. They ran stuff like Lasers and Feelings, Star Trek Adventures. They ran Karagami High, that weird fucking anime game that I played in where I was a weird chick with centipedes crawling all over. It was strange, but fun. But yeah, it was one of the stranger games I've ever played in. But no, seriously, no. Those guys deserve some real recognition. If you follow the Terrible Warriors Twitter, which is Dice Warriors, you'll probably see some of the tweets that they were mentioning. So please go back, check out some of the past tweets, give them some thanks, give them some major high fives and props. Because I think that's pretty cool how we developed a listener gamer group. Because they couldn't find DMs of their own. They decided to band together and be our terrible listeners. And I think that's neat how they came together and do some stuff for charity. So thank you guys. You guys are all fantastic. Ken, Christy, and everybody else, thank you so much. You did some amazing work. Other than that, what else to talk about before I end out the show this week? I'm not sick. I actually feel pretty good, all things considered. My ampuversary is coming up in about 2 weeks, so hopefully I should be good mentally. I mean, I feel pretty good right now, so I'm not super upset about anything. So we'll just have to see how things go. Hopefully, well, your Birdman's in good spirits. Your Birdman is not going to go to the goddamn hospital this year. That is my goal. That is my goal this year for Christmas. Don't end up in the goddamn hospital. Now, you know what? I'll tell that story next week because it helps to have Alex and Tristan to bounce off of. But I had a weird week myself. I'll tell you guys about it next week if I remember. So anyway, guys, until next time, be cool, be kind, be careful, And of course, as I'm always fond of saying, live for your Die Hard. I'll catch you guys again next week, right here on thisweekingeek.net.
Well, that's our show. All right, here's the deal. Every time you watch my show, I will send you $40.
Checks will not be honored.
You've been listening to This Week in Geek, your source for guaranteed nonsense or your money back. Tune in next week for more info on the most important things you didn't need to know. Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net and subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or any podcatcher. If you'd like to comment on this episode, head over to this episode's post at thisweekingeek.net and leave a comment through Facebook Connect. Follow us on Twitter at thisweekingeek.net and follow our Instagram at twig_official_podcast. Social media not your thing? Send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. We'll see you next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership. Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens. What? It ends.
I have to go. Somewhere there is a crime happening.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, statements coming at ya, statements coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see you at practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Technology Truths, brought to you by Geico.
Technology Truths.
Truth. Teenagers can communicate entirely in emojis.
How was the birthday party? Pizza slice, kitten, soccer ball, pineapple?
Truth. It's so easy to switch and save on car insurance at geico.com.
What are you talking about? Paperclip, shoulder shrug, high five, wizard hat? What?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.